Hey, what is up guys? My name is Bob, aka PabLoon, and today we are checking out the newly released Japanese tech tree line featuring the tier 10 Yodo. And I want to talk about some tips and tricks on how you should play this line, because I do have a lot of experience in Japanese cruisers, and although the Sao and Yodo are not similar at all in playstyle, they are still both Japanese cruisers that really want to set fires and shoot torpedoes. Sao is a more stealthy, sneaky, samurai that can deal massive strikes in a very short amount of time, whereas Yodo is more of an HE spammer that likes to sit pretty far away and annoy BBs, using the torpedoes to zone and maybe get the occasional battleship at far range. Now, the first tip that I do want to mention here is probably as I see it, one of the most important ones, is use kiting to your advantage. Immediately when I get into this game, you're going to see me before I get detected, before the planes see me, before the battleships see me. I'm going to shoot some torpedoes off as zoning tools. Maybe there's a destroyer who gets hit by these. You never know, but they do have a very long range. And then I'm going to get into a kiting position, meaning I'm going to get my rear end towards the enemy. And the reason for that is, first of all, when you can minimize your silhouette and present the smallest targets possible, it's going to be harder for the enemy to hit you. And the second reason is, which is probably the most important one, is you have an easier way to escape. Now, Yodo is an absolutely long, or massive, it's very long at least, cruiser. Especially for the classification of a light cruiser. We're going to get into why it's a light cruiser a little bit later. But because you have 18 150mm barrels, 6 turrets with triple configuration, it is obviously a very long ship. One of the main awesome features about these guns is they are all 360 except for the rear turret. Now, I believe I said the second to last wasn't the only one that wasn't 360 in my original video, but it is actually the rear turret. They have a pretty decent range, as you can see. We can actually hit ships of, well, pretty far away. In this Iowa here, he got burnt to a crisp very quickly. Obviously, that wasn't the smartest push, but that is what Yodo really excels at, and that's what you want to do. You want to take these big stationary targets that are easy to hit. Obviously, when you have 18 guns, you're going to be hitting a lot of the time. Then if you can't, then you really have a problem. Because that's the awesome thing about having a ton of guns, is it's pretty easy to hit stuff. Now, Yodo's accuracy isn't the best compared to Sao. Obviously, you don't get a precise aim, but that's why I just actually changed out my build. Before this, I was running reload mod, and I like to run reload mod because I am what can you say, a gung-ho type dude. I like shooting a lot, I like action-packed and doing a lot of damage. But I actually changed it out to dispersion. Even though you have 18 guns, it is just nice to get that tighter, spread of your, I guess you could call this a shotgun salvo. I mean, it's pretty much is. But that's simply because I want to be able to hit these light cruisers and DDs at longer ranges, because that's where you want to stay. You don't want to go close with this thing. The torpedo angles are very far back, so you have to show a ton of broadside to actually get them off. And that is one of the biggest weaknesses of this ship. It's massive size and its very bad turn time. Now, the main battery gun angles are very good, as you can see. We're maintaining a very sharp angle to this Yamato, and we're just kind of scooting back and forward to minimize the amount of damage he can do to us. And I think you should try your best to do that as well in your games. Take advantage of these awesome gun angles, and make sure to turn in between these salvos of battleships. You can see here we can't really execute this turn in time before Yamato shoots, but we can definitely try to minimize the amount of hits he gets by, angling as much as possible. Now, the Yodo is, like I said, it's a Japanese cruiser, so obviously you get awesome torpedoes. And these torpedoes that we just sent, they were pretty much just random zoning torps. But they have over 10 kilometers of range, just barely. And that means you can hit targets that really don't expect torpedoes to be coming. That Conqueror, I wasn't even sure I was going to hit him myself, but the torpedoes did, and I don't think he was expecting it either. So that's my second tip. Use your torpedoes all the time. And use your your good guns and their good traverse speed to get both sides off. Because these are 360 turrets, they are pretty easy to get on target after a turn, and you should definitely use that to your advantage. You can see here I am trying my best to maintain sharp angles and scoot under his shells as they come, and it is very easy to get these guns on target once you have changed your course. Here we see the planes come in, and you can actually see versus an Essex, I mean, it's not going to destroy whole squadrons and stop a full, you know, attack from a Midway or Malta, unfortunately, but it's going to take down planes, which is really nice to see. I had a game where I was getting focused by Malta, and I mean, I took out 11 in the first strike, and that's definitely better than Sao. So this ship is a lot more friendly towards the matchmaker, whereas if you compare it to the Sao, it's very difficult to play that ship unless you get favor, you know, you get the favor of matchmaking. Here you can actually face CVs, you can face a lot of, you know, DD heavy compositions because you have a sonar. Now I would still argue that the Sao is a better DD hunter because it has precise aim, it has 203mm instead of 150s, and it just chunks destroyers. But you have a sonar, which is really nice, and you are more akin to a support cruiser than you are compared to Sao. That's how I would put them. Sao is a, you know, selfish, not selfish, but you have to have a selfish mindset when you're playing Sao. And Yodo, you have to have more of a team-oriented mindset. You need to be close to your battleships, you need to be in the fray, and you need to make sure that you use your AA to help the team and your sonar. So here we are in another game where I'm playing with some of my fleet mates, Horatio and SRAM, and we are in a little bit of a pickle here. Me and my DD teammate, we are kind of alone on this flank, and the whole of the enemy team is congregating on this side. So they are going to be pushing us and pressuring us, and this is where I talked about using islands to your advantage. You can see we have 13 kilometers of range, so we can actually pretty easily lob over these, you know, low, small islands, and that's what we're going to try to do. Now we notice that there's a Genon who is definitely torping this gap, and I'm going to activate my sonar just for my own sake, so I get a fair early warning of when these torpedoes are going to come through this gap, because I have a prediction or a feeling that they're going to do that. And you also need to have that kind of mindset when you're playing these big cruisers. You need to predict the enemy, what do you think they're going to do, and then you need to act accordingly. Now we have a Preußen here who's pushing in maniacally, like the Iowa was, and I mean, that's just lovely. We sit behind this island and we harass him until he's gone. You notice my angling. The biggest threat to me right now is actually that Delny, who is doing a considerable amount of damage to us. So we are angling away, and now we saw that we took a big salvo from a battleship, most likely the Conqueror. So now we need to kind of think about getting away. But the Genon is there, and he definitely fired torpedoes, so I can't push out. This is again where the angling comes in, and this is probably the biggest tip. You need to keep that kiting angle all the time. You see me never sit pretty much full broadside to these enemies. If you do that in this ship, you're just asking for it. It is absolutely a long cruiser, and you're gonna get it if you don't respect that. That's probably the biggest fine line you have to thread when you're playing Yodo, is maintaining that angling, because you have the gun arcs, the gun angles to actually do that. And along with the 360 turrets, it makes it a lot easier to dodge and get all your torpedoes off. So obviously this wasn't a Cruises of Blitz episode, but I kind of just wanted to make a little fun montage with some cool music and show you guys some of the experiences I had with this. So far I have, like I think I told you, I think I've played 10 games, and those 10 games were very high damage. I'm going to show you guys my stats so far since I gotten it on my main account. Now it is a Sunday today, so I didn't win all of my games. I actually lost quite a few, but that's just when you're playing on the weekends. You get the Sunday players, so I think we all know that phenomenon. So the win rate probably isn't too good, but I'm very sure my average damage is quite high so far. And that's simply because if you utilize your range, you can see 13.10. That's very good for a light cruiser. That's longer than Des Moines, that's longer than Hindenburg. It's quite sad actually that these 150s can reach further than most 203s in this game, but that's a subject for another video probably. But you need to use that to your advantage. Along with that, you have extremely long range torpedoes, and they are Japanese torpedoes obviously, so they deal massive damage. And here we see we're just pushing in, maintaining angling, we're watching out for what's the biggest threat. Right now that's the Conqueror. We notice the Delny pushing, and we're gonna get behind this island because I think the Conqueror has noticed me now, so I don't want to deal with him, and he can definitely hurt us. We launch torps as zoning tools for this Delny. I'm not sure they're gonna hit him, absolutely not, to be honest. But it's just there to maybe throw him off and slow his push towards his team so he can help them. So that's like the gist of it. You are a long range HE spammer that is very, very good at lighting up battleships, and you're also extremely good at taking out light cruisers that, like the Colbert you saw in the clip. Minotaurs are very easy to fight, but you don't want to stay close. That is where you lose with the Yodo, because your AP is not very punchy, and that's kind of your weakness, your size, and your AP is not very punchy. At least that's what I've found. I haven't seen many Yodos out there yet, but I guess they just came out, so we're probably going to see them coming, out slowly here. But maybe it's also because people are afraid of playing these Japanese cruisers because of the SAO. And yeah, we just got the Conqueror there. You can see that we have 11 fires this game. I haven't had any bad luck getting fires with this ship. I feel like it's just a Japanese barbecue, man. It definitely can set fires, let me just say that. So now we're gonna turn around here. You see how fast these turrets were turning. They follow this ship very, very quickly. And I'm also running the escort specialization. We're gonna, of course, get into the build, but I have changed up a little bit since I first played this ship. And here we see, like, a Minotaur is definitely a threat to you, obviously, but you also are very much a threat to him, and he should respect you. But like I said, use your islands, use the cover, know when you are dangerously close to dying, and that is precisely about now. This Minotaur could probably kill me if I had stayed exposed longer than this, but the game ends and we are done. So there you go, 94k damage. Not even a very eventful game for me in the Yodo, but still it pumps out damage like nothing else. Now that being said, this is not an OP ship. Not in the slightest, I think. It definitely takes a skilled captain to make it work, but I feel like this is a very well-rounded, all-around Japanese cruiser. It feels kind of like a Worcester in the Japanese tech tree. Of course, you don't have Worcester AA, but you definitely have the same role of performing HE spam and some support for your team. You can't even get close to supporting the team like Worcester can, but it is far outperforming any of the other Japanese ships in the tech tree. I mean, we can only really compare it to the SAO here at tier 10. But yeah, that is it. Let's get into the build here. So for my elite bonus on Yodo, I run the escort specialization. That is because it actually gives main battery traverse speed 7%, max speed 3%, and large caliber AA damage 5%. I just don't think it's worth to get 3% off the reload when you have so many guns, and they already reload in 10 seconds here, as you can see, which is quite good. So that is the reason I take escort specialization. Now, I said that the torps were just over 10 kilometers. That is a mistake. It is just under, but I mean, 10 kilometers, if you round up, is pretty good still. The camo here, the totally green olive camo, that is, I don't know, it's kind of ugly. Gives surface detection, max traverse speed, firing range, and torpedo range, so all good things. And it's I believe it's the same stats as the special camo. Now, I used to run reload, but in this build, and I think I'm going to be running this from now on, is dispersion mod. You could also opt in for reload, that is up to you, but I just like having the extra precision. I run steering gear because this thing turns like a brick, and it's really nice to be able to turn a little bit tighter than it just does default. You can also go for prop mod, that is also up to you, but I would definitely advise you to try steering gears in the second slot. And for the third slot, we obviously need to have detection, because this is a Japanese cruiser still. You want to be able to disengage, and you want to be able to do some stealth torping on enemy BBs. You can see it's still pretty good surface detection. We are running the Raizo Tanaka, and he's a pretty cool commander. I actually have emergency response on this, and I don't advise you to take this, but I feel like since you have a sonar and it's quite slim, even though it's a very long ship, so torpedoes isn't really the biggest threat in my opinion, so I'd rather be able to repair my stuff faster. We take battlefield support because it's perfect sonar and AA, artillery maintenance, air defense expert because we get DFAA 3, survivalist, and we take exploit weakness. You could also take recon and surveillance, but honestly I think you should go for the more fire flooding damage, which is kind of your bread and butter with this ship. Fully prepared, adrenaline rush. And then we get to the funny stuff here. We get torpedo squadron. Now we do get an engine accelerator if we had one. We don't, so I'm just going for the minus 20% torpedo concealment and the 50% increase to damage to modules, which is very fun, I think. I haven't tried it yet. Honor Seeker, IFHE, and then we have Giant Hunter Plus, which is just a nice little bonus. Obviously, Togo Hachio would be great on this ship. I just have it on my SAO, so that's why I just opted for this guy instead. Now here are my stats: 8 victories, so 8 games played, and we have a 62% win rate, which is fine. And 84k damage with a 50% MVP rate. Now obviously I am looking to increase this, and somebody probably has higher. That's not what I'm showing this for. I'm just trying to show this is the performance I had with the ship in my 8 first games. So very, very nice, and I look forward to playing this a lot more. So that is it for my video here on the Yodo, as it was released here Thursday, I believe it was, at least on EU. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, a comment, and yeah, thank you for watching. I'm gonna be making more Yodo content as I keep playing this and get gameplay. But until then, thank you so much. My name is BobLyn, and I am signing out.